Shortage of semiconductors affect the automotive sector.
The most important parts to produce vehicles are semiconductors or chips, since they allow communication, connection, and the impediment of passage of electric current. Without this, they would not have an optimal or modernized operation. From the suspension of the manufacture of these devices in the different markets of the automotive sector, they were affected by the pandemic because the chip producing companies focused on the production of mobile phones and technological devices and reduced the elaboration of them for vehicles. Therefore, a shortage was generated that caused a breakdown in the supply chain, affecting international physical distribution in different countries, including Colombia. To know better where this problem comes from, we are going to talk about Taiwan and South Korea. These two countries dominate the chip manufacturing industry, and according to TM Lombard economist Rory Green, estimates that the two Asian nations account for 83% of global production of processor chips and 70% of memory chips. One of these companies located in Taiwan and that has the monopoly of this industry is called TSMC, a Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company, and has become the great dominator of the business of selling integrated circuits known as chips worldwide. Together with its subsidiary companies, it has more than 51,000 employees, and its chips are used in computing, communications, automotive, and long list of branches of industry. From its headquarters in Taiwan's Hsinchu Science Park, TMC has become one of the most valuable and indispensable companies in a world that more so in the era of the pandemic depends on the tiny artifacts it makes. In the supply chain, we find first the assembly section. It consists of the union of the stamped parts according to their respective shape and model. There is the bodywork, doors, floors, covers. Then we find the painting section with the vehicle semi-assembled, degreased and apply paint to protect from corrosion and give an appearance aesthetic. Then we find the mounting section. It refers to the process whereby it is assembling the parts electrical, mechanical and accessories. And finally, there is the commercialization section. The traditional marketing channel are the so-called dealers, which are representatives of foreign brands and locally assembled brands.
What happened in the pandemic was that the automotive industry initially saw a big drop in the demand and cut its orders. As a result, chip makers changed their production lines. But in the third quarter of 2020, car sales recovered faster than anticipated, while demand for consumer electronics continued unabated. As demand increases, it causes an excess, which is when the quantity demanded exceeds the quantity supplied. On chipmaker told the Wall Street Journal that the order backlog is so large that it could take up to 14 weeks to fulfill any orders an automaker placed today. This could have costly side effects. Consultancy Alex Barnett has forecast that the auto industry will lose 64 billions in sales because it has had to shut down or cut productions. Consequence. First, we're going to talk about the time that you have to wait when you buy a car, because that time will increase, and it could also be difficult to find some devices. Second, major brands such as Samsung and Apple have the purchasing power to ensure priority in this industry. Third, smaller brands may be disproportionate affected. Fourth, the prices of these products are increasing. Now we're going to talk about the conflict between Ukraine and Russia. At first, the supply chain of the automotive industry was affected by the pandemic, but now also is affected by the war of Russia and Ukraine, because Russia is one of the main suppliers of aluminum, nickel, and copper, that are the raw materials for the manufacture of cars. Cause of these conflicts, Russia has been put trade sanctions which cause a rise in the cost of metals for the automotive industry worldwide. Now we're going to see a video to understand more about this topic.
Todas estas piezas se tendrán que almacenar. Esta fábrica de fundición a presión de Baja Sajonia no sabe cuándo las podrá vender. Las ventas de la empresa familiar Roeda se han desplomado en las últimas semanas. Su cliente Volkswagen sufre la escasez de chips y por eso no puede montar las piezas producidas por Roeda. Muchos empresarios del sector se enfrentan a la misma situación que Gerd Roeda. Algunos incluso quebraron y es que por contrato están obligados a seguir fabricando. Como proveedores estamos obligados a proporcionar piezas todas las semanas, pero los clientes no tienen la obligación de aceptar la entrega. Eso significa que tenemos gastos de material de salarios y uso de maquinaria, pero no podemos vender la producción porque los clientes no aceptan la entrega y no pagan. A Volkswagen le faltan los semiconductores para los chips responsables del control electrónico de muchas partes del vehículo. Por eso tuvo que frenar la producción. Por esta puerta de la planta en Wolfsburgo solían pasar miles de trabajadores durante el cambio de turno. Ahora muchos tienen que quedarse en casa. Los recortes de jornada son difíciles. El estado de ánimo entre los compañeros no es bueno. Si haces caso de los rumores, la situación podría ir para largo. Eso afecta al ánimo. La situación no es fácil para todos, pero no hay más remedio que esperar. También Mercedes pasa por aprietos. Cientos de sus vehículos están aparcados en el recinto ferial de Hannover. Según un periódico local, no se pueden entregar porque faltan chips para los cierres electrónicos. Bosch e Infineon han construido nuevas plantas para producir semiconductores en Europa, pero no pueden satisfacer la enorme demanda de Alemania. La mayoría de los chips provienen de Taiwán y Corea, pero por ahora no dan abasto. Para la fundición de Gerd Roeda, la falta de semiconductores tiene un fuerte impacto en la producción, pero las carencias no se limitan a los chips. También hay carencia de magnesio y aluminio procedente de China. De momento estamos reduciendo la jornada, pero si esto sigue así tendremos que reducir personal. Según los expertos, la escasez de chips podría extenderse hasta 2022 e incluso 2023. Los proveedores y productores deberán así enfrentarse al reto de sortear la escasez en los próximos meses.
Despite the crisis in international logistics, transports, and the shortage of chips, consequence of the pandemic, which influenced the production of vehicles for import. In addition, as of October 2021, there was an increase in the number of enrollments of the 11.9% compared to October 2020. According to financial institutions, the price of vehicles in general increased by 3.8% to September 2021, while for the same period of 2020, vehicle price fell by 3.1%. Now we're going to talk about used car sales. So far in 2021, there is an increase in this number of transfers, reaching a 5-to-1 ratio with respect to sales of new vehicles. These exceed the figures of the previous 2 years,
where for each new vehicles, 3.5 used vehicles were transferred. The accelerated growth of the used market is mainly due to a lack of supply in the new market. Now, increase in imports. There is an increase in imports which corresponds to a growth in the demand for both vehicles and motorcycles. However, the growth of 41% so far this year compared to 2020 could be graded in terms of demand. Now, our conclusions are that the accelerated growth in demand for technology that left the quarantine, the shortage in the market of the production of semiconductors that are indispensable for technology goods and vehicular transport, and the crisis of the containers led to all these factors coming together and causing the crisis of semiconductors. In the market, big brands such as Tesla, Ford, and General Motors were affected by these crises and had to reduce their production at different times of the year. Due to these logistic problems, to meet the demand, the cost of freight and goods are increasing. In addition, many companies with internal plans will migrate to other countries to meet the same needs.